Peace, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Israel Doctrine's Google Hangout. And tonight we're having a discussion, a conversation. So the title of tonight's show is Israel Doctrine Convo with Rawyal on Nationalism. A conversation that changes everything because it's dealing with our communities. We got two different communities. He's a Moor, I'm an Israelite. Not to be confused with Hebrew Israelite. I tend to get confused as Hebrew Israelite all the time by people that never listen to me. So we're going to talk here tonight from them two viewpoints, Israelite Moor. Now, I don't know how he would like to open it up, but I give him a chance to open up since he is a guest. I won't be rude to my guests. We friends, so I don't think it'll be any kind of crazy conversation. So how you doing, Roya? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You gotta unmute. Woo! Him and technology. Him and technology, people. Him and technology. We don't need no for us in the back. I want y'all to see me clearly. Wish my camera's not showing a great picture, but Reef Royale will be back. He hit the wrong button and fell out of screen. So I guess I'll start the conversation. He's back, y'all. He just bounced back.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Technology, man. How you doing? How you doing, brother? Peace.
Yeah. You see, we started it off right already. Excellent. Got to start it off right. Just happy to be here. The spirit got me here, so I'm gonna go with it. You know what I'm saying? Not too many people like talk to me in public, so you know, you're the only one that's consistently. You're the only one who's, or one of the only ones who've been consistently talking to me in public as a guest. And the thing is, when I talk to you, I usually have to me, we have some of the best conversations, like iconic, staple conversations that there's information that can be pulled from at any given time in any given moment. Like any conversation we can go back that we've had, we can go back and there's jewels in there. And that's why I really wanted to have this conversation, because I'm like, I know there's going to be some powerful information that's needed to be heard, because I'd be, isolated doing multitask. I'm doing 7 trillion things. And, more people want me to speak on the things that I've been, bringing to the front as far as nationality, all type of information that I've put to the front, and just to have a discussion, fluently with you. I'm just open to see how that conversation goes. And also just a little bit of correction. I don't want to mislead anybody thinking that I'm coming from a Moorish science perspective or viewpoint. It's the same way you're not coming from the Hebrew Israelite viewpoint. You get what I'm saying? Like, do I agree with a lot of things they say? Definitely. And I want to make some, get that clear as far as the whole conversation about nationality and the same way you want to make some things clear about, the whole Hebrew Israelite mix up with yourself. So, it's just a open dialogue just to figure out what comes out that can help the next generation not have to go through the same
Atrocities.
all over again, to break the loop, break the cycle, and free a few minds if possible.
All right, so you want to open up, or how you want to do this?
You're saying if I should go first, or are you saying should I start? Or?
You just open up with a conversation, but somebody got to lead the conversation into the future.
Okay, well, I want you to lead if you got something prepared, but at the same time, I'll lead because I don't have nothing prepared, so I can just stop. Whereas, like, I'm sure you got, something more prepared and you can keep going. But...
Well, let me present what I put out there.
Okay, good.
So here we go. We'll start right here. All right. I have some written stuff, but I'm not a reader, so I will be going off the head and skipping over stuff. But a nationalist and nationalism, they go together. It's a person that advocates for national independence. Now, as he said, he's not coming from that paradigm, but a nationalist deals with the nation. Now, as a black people, we don't have a nationality, not one that's agreed upon. We all choose our nationality. I chose Israel, he chose more. But we're going to keep going. Or the promotion of a national code, a nation covenant, an interest above others. So my interest above his interest above my interest. So loyalty, cultural pride, self-determination, all this stuff is a part of how a nationalist move. So I grew up listening to black nationalism all my life. I don't like the term black. Don't want to use the term black because, as you can see down at the bottom, it's a simple define of mortus civil clarity, however you say that, civil mortus. So it's a Latin term meaning civil dead. And as black people, they've been fighting for civil rights all their life because they've been civilly dead all their life. I believe he agreed with me on that. So though one is alive, they civilly dead, but humans are humans. I say human. I use that terminology. I don't use Neanderthal and all that other stuff. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm a nationalist. I deal with nationalism. I put Israelite before it to give you the nation that I'm dealing with, which brings about many different things economically, spiritually, this and that. So that's when I started off. I'm going to give up the mic now.
Okay. So just to highlight something that you basically was running down as far as the definitions or meanings of nationality and how we're going to approach the conversation, something that you mentioned, civilly dead. Civilly dead is really key to what we have to say moving forward, or what I have to say, what I'm presenting as far as this whole conversation and the confusion with the whole nationality conversation. Now, nationality, what you know and what we've been presented has been hijacked by corporatism. Now, corporatism is the UCC codes, the maritime law, and all of the conversations that you hear most of the Moors speak about, right? So when you see me speaking with a Taj Tariq or anybody else that you may disagree with me saying black, or us having a conversation about the word black, and that confusion comes in when it's like, you're not black and don't say black and this and that or whatever, because black means civilly dead. And why does that mean that? It means it in the corporate world because corporatism, the corpse is dead. That's key information to digest and put in the minds of the people. Now, anything and everything that is corporatized is considered dead because it's not real. You're real. Now, the people get real life mixed up with the corporate life, like the paper and the wording, but that's not real life. Real life is you as a man, woman, in a soul, spirit, uh, organic soul, right? So when you hear people say black and they're not black and they're not this and they're not that, all of that is filtered through a corporatized, uh, quote unquote, democracy, a corporatized republic. And what that did was, with that whole Abraham Lincoln conversation and the amendments that shifted the Union and the Confederate conversation, where people would start calling themselves black, white, etc. When they was like, through the paperwork, we can do it. So we can continue on with slavery, but it'll only be done through, if they filter through this wording, through the 13th Amendment. So, you know, if you're locked up and you get caught into their system, then quote unquote, you're a slave again. So anything that's filtered through their paperwork becomes a part of their doctrine. So it's not that just because you're in the machine, all of a sudden you're a part of the machine, when you can see clearly that the corporate world could care less about any and everything that it turns into a dead a dead entity. Like when you hear, you know, that person is a business. Yes, person, place, and thing are a part of the corporation. So when you change the name and when you change, the whole reason that religion gets tied into it is because what happens with religion, religions are able to move fluidly through the corporate world, but they still corporations. They still have tax IDs. They still are able, but they're able to move more fluent than people. So most of the elders, from the Noble Drew Ali's to whoever and every, just think any and every religion that you can imagine, what they realized was, if you create a religion, right, and it goes through these certain guidelines, you have a freedom that a normal person wouldn't have, right? So when you operating under the religious tax codes, there's a freedom that you have that, you know, some regular Joe may not have. So that's just the clarity of, that doesn't mean that, you know, what's said in the religion is real or not, because my whole perspective of everything is it's a scam, it's a hustle, right? Now, the spiritual part of it, I'm super tied to the spiritual part. Again, that's why I'm here. I'm here because I'm tied to the spiritual part. And I know for a fact that I've made miracles, I've created miracles, and I've seen miracles and been, you know, blessed by, you know, the karma, you know, the magic that you give out, you get back, right? So, so, you know, it's just something where I've been a witness to it. So I don't want to get people confused thinking that I'm attacking a religion. I'm just saying what it is. I'm just calling things for what they are. So when you hear, you know, something is civilly dead and this word and that word, two different worlds. When you walk into a courtroom, two different worlds. The language that you learned in school or the language that you speak in the street, when you walk into the courtroom, they're talking corporatism, legalese. That's the same language. So with the Moors in that conversation about what they're not and why they won't call themselves black, etc., the confusion is they're talking from the Black's Law Dictionary and all of these books that give the legalese definition for corporatism. Does that mean real life? No, because Ba, La, and Ka have been around before any corporation from the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. So that's as far back as most of our people go, is, you know, the 1600s to about the 1800s. And then not to mention how everything get remixed again in the early 1900s with the Rockefellers. So that remix on top of the other remix is why there's so much confusion. So again, that's just to open the conversation. Yes.
Yes. Because I realized through my conversion into Israelite, which I believe I'm a physical is what a spiritual Israelite. I've tried to prove it, but every time I go to prove it to someone, they throw some craziness in it, like they don't know what an Israelite is and what it takes to be an Israelite.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just having a conversation on the show with this guy named Joe Green the other day, prove you're an Israelite. So the first thing I did, I went and showed that the Egyptians was melanated and the Israelites was melanated. That's how Moses passed. That's the grandson of the Egyptian.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went there, he stopped me and he tried to control the conversation. Then he went to Levitical stuff, where the Levitical priests had to prove their genealogy so they could get in the temple. I tried to explain to him that's what that's about. A regular Israelite don't have to prove their genealogy to go in the temple. It went crazy. And I got emotional because I've been emotional damaged by a lot of people trying to talk to people. That's why I was like, well, me and Rawyal don't speak. We ain't enemies, so I don't think he's going to attack me on something like that. He's going to allow me to speak on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is actually an important part of the conversation as well. That's an important part because right now, maybe you could bring some clarity to me, because is really, I love how you said if you're an actual Israelite, you can just walk into the temple. You don't need a genealogy test.
Yeah.
So what I do want to ask you, right? Can religion is there a DNA test for religion? Like, what is that? Like, how people asking, like, you need a genealogy test to test what religion you are?
I can't go to God and get his DNA. He's a spirit. I don't know how to get the DNA of a spirit.
So is that like, how do you test the DNA of somebody's religion?
Test the spirit.
That's what I'm saying. So spiritually, you can be tested. That's a fact. But to say the spirit is the bloodline is confusing because a lot of people are going around saying, yo, I'm this religion because, of my DNA. And it's like, what? It's like, what?
See,
religion and DNA? What is that?
It's two prongs. There were some physical Israelites.
Okay.
Physical children of Jacob.
Okay.
There was 12 tribes of them. Then Ephraim and Manasseh got born. Then they got put into the 12 tribe thing like that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way they became Israel is the only way anyone can become Israel. They was baptized.
Okay. So now, this is maybe you could now. Okay, see, you're the right person to talk to because you can bring a lot more clarity from actual studied biblical standpoint. Okay, so now, just out of curiosity, if you're saying people can be baptized into Israel, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Into the family of God.
Into the family of God. Okay, so Isis Rawyal is the family of God. That's a fact. That's how I take that. Because if you just said you can be baptized into the family of God, and those words combined as the family of God, because you have an Isis temple in America, you have Ra in Kemet, and then you have El, all over the world basically at this point. But that to me, what winds up happening is when people are searching for like the DNA of being authentic, opposed to, like you said, more of the spiritual part of it. Like there are people that naturally can do the right thing or the wrong thing. And I think the programming of society helps coerce people into different outcomes. So let's say like that whole Moloch thing, that whole Baal thing, the golden calf conversation. So Moses is talking to the people. He goes to the mountain, comes back, and then he sees the people talking to the calf. What's clarity on that? Like, what is Explain that.
Well, the whole thing is the Ten Commandments, wherever they come from, dictated if you in the family or not.
Mm.
Because your mind is connected with God. Your inner man is connected with God, your spiritual man. And when you start worshiping another deity, comes a disconnection. Because God told him, don't make no other God. Don't do this. Don't do that. I'm jealous. I get you. But yet people did that. And it showed, like you said, the fruits. Your fruits show what tree you come from. See, I've been a madman for 8 years. People couldn't tell where I was coming from because my mother was attacked, which is hip hop now. 50 Cent and the Harrises, they going at it, playing the game, people playing with people mamas. So 8 years ago, my mother was attacked, and it blew my mind because I seen my mother die. I've never seen a person die. And I was out here in public acting out, and they couldn't comprehend it. Because once again, I was asking people to interview me, and people was afraid of real conversation. I asked you, you interviewed me, we talked about it. We talked about it the before period, before it started happening. So, you know, the fruits are how you tell who's who. Tell the tree by the fruit it's bear. If it's nice, it's a nice tree. If it's bad fruit, it's a bad tree. So this how I would deal with my national identity and nationalism. We got to bear good fruit. And a lot of people don't bear good fruit in the Black community, in this community, because of how they've been raised in white churches and white doctrine and white supremacy and all of that, which is only come back with Black supremacy and Black this and Black that, and because religion and different stuff is also corporate stuff. Like you say, you pay, or you in the tax code of the United States when you don't have to pay your taxes and stuff. So it's a corporation too, which I believe the Mormons deal with too.
That's all they talk about. That's all they deal with is the legal standpoint of religion. Like people think like, so when it gets confusing because the line is so blurred, because the language is the same language, but it has different meanings. So when you're saying, you know, when they going out and they, you know, getting all of this information, they learn all of this information, then they just come out and saying like, yo, you can't say this, you can't say that. And it's like, we're not in the courtroom walking around in everyday life. You get what I'm saying? So certain things don't apply. You know, when you're playing a certain game, there's certain rules. And when you're in the corporatist game, that's when it's a certain rule that you abide by. And, you know, something that you said that I like as far as the fruits basically give away what tree you came from, right? The fruits you bear or something like that. So the only thing, like you said, is that the environment is so toxic. So even if you was trying to, you know, produce apples or oranges or whatever the case is, what winds up happening is the environment is so, between the chemtrails and the sprays and the damn, all of that, you know, genetically, a lot of the fruits are genetically modified. So as soon as it's about to blossom or bloom, they spraying you with some type of poison and messing up, you know, the nutrition and minerals and vitamins that you know, would usually thrive. What's that?
No seeds in the fruit to produce more fruit.
So in turn, the fruits are coming from the chemical plant. And now you see on Congress where they're admitting, yeah, we've been poisoning your fruit, poisoning your food, poisoning your water, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the only reason why, as far as the youth and this conversation can happen, and it's so important, because it just hoping to break the cycle nonsense that we been under for so long, and it keep going on. And it's like, if you know we already doing bad, don't jump in, make things worse. You get what I'm saying?
Kills. Misinformation kills. So, like, I can't even talk to a Hebrew Israelite about baptism. I tried to Rawyal them. They
So
don't.
what's the saying for baptism? What does that mean? Like, to be baptized? What is that exactly? Break that down.
System. There's baptism to repentance, which it goes on in the head between you and God, but you have to get in the water and do a physical baptism because it's like an initiation system. I don't know that you've been baptized if you don't go and do the physical baptism. Just like I don't know if you circumcised unless you get circumcised. And that's a token of the covenant. A token of the covenant shows that you're in covenant, that you went through the process of initiating this covenant. So repentance unto baptism is what the water baptism is. And after you go through the water, then you initiate it into the God family, and Jesus will do the spiritual baptism. And you get the Holy Spirit and renewing your mind and taking you through the steps. Then people will see a new person. You won't be cursing them out no more. You won't be drinking. You won't be doing a bunch of sexual things that you once did and no longer do, because you got a renewed mind. You can see things in a more positive way. You can produce them type of fruits because you have a more positive mindset and thought. So like Elijah Muhammad was kicking the Malcolm in back in them days and stuff, they spiritually dead. They need a spiritual resurrection. So spiritual mortus is worse than civil mortus, because you're not a human being if you don't have a spiritual component to yourself.
I completely agree. You can't be in tune if you don't got a spiritual component to yourself. But at the same time, you got to add in the fact that if you're going to be producing children, the partner that you choose need to be in sync with you, because to raise these children, the fruits that you produce are raised by two. You, the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine. And now there's an in-between because of, the things that society has come up. Some of the ideas society has come up with is the in-between, random blurred line. We're not even talking about that. But the whole, child support conversation that, I learned from that. Just the bottom line and the moral of the story was, apart from better choices, and it was like realizing like that bad spirit does bleed into the child. Like all of the stuff I go through, all of the stuff I went through, now the child, the seeds that was planted from early on, now it blooms out in the child. And that nasty toxic energy, it's like if I was able to be there and we wasn't going through our trials and tribulations, things probably would be different. You get what I'm saying? So when you get a woman, or excuse me, if you get a partner for the women who may be watching, if you get a partner, you want them to be in sync. You want to be sleeping with a friend opposed to an enemy, because that can also break your spirit or mislead or misguide your spirit, because your partner can help you be healthy, or can put you in a situation where your life becomes a lot worse. So that part of a baptism, as far as a household, where again, me is not even, I don't even want to pretend like I'm taking it on a spiritual level, but at the same time I'm trying to make sure that just on a common sense spiritual level, like common sense, you want to walk in and you want to,
A lot of
thrive
people
in good spirit.
a lot of people don't talk and deal with that, but yes, I'm learning a lot about it because I got an African woman. I never played the Let's Go together.
Mhm.
I spoke for a couple weeks and stuff. And like, I'm looking for a wife.
Mhm.
Will you come to America and can we do this?
Mhm.
So I put my obligations out there on the table
Mhm.
up front. And though we ain't together today, we plan to be together. So in all actuality, I do my job here in America, waiting for them to give me the immigration to go over there and get them.
No, I mean, either way, no matter, the difference between yesterday and today, it's a global world where everything and anything is possible in reality in real time. Whereas before, it just was a lot harder to communicate with long distance, etc. So now it's like you have a supercomputer, that can keep you up to speed with everything around the world at the, instantly. So,
Yeah.
I would,
It's
yeah.
allowing me to take my headship because I speak to her daily.
No, I'm wishing you well with it, but I definitely, I definitely know that, it'll work in your favor, as long as you have patience, because the world is crazy, man. The world is crazy. Like, you see a lot is going on.
I'm learning patience every day. That's one of my biggest tools in learning right now since the stroke and everything.
Hmm.
Yes. My brother just told me the other day, he said, yeah, you make bad decisions because you don't think, you just it hits you, you do. That's the attitude I have about a lot of stuff. I don't think long. I make my decision and I go. Whether it be right or wrong, I learn from it. Let me go do it.
Hmm.
See what it's about.
Hmm. Yeah, that's that Aries energy. Aries, y'all be big hearted, but y'all be wild as F. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be wild, but y'all still be, y'all be bout it and still show mad love at the same time. So I understand, because I have my mom's Aries, so my sister's Aries, my mom's Aries. Got so many family members that's Aries, and I wish I could say there was differences. Like, the differences, I don't, I know everybody's like, don't blanket me into that. But there's a lot of similarities as far as the fire signs. So and me being a fire sign trust, I get that part too. So, but yeah, it's, just here chopping it up with you. It is a blessing in being able to share whatever extra information that we got for the people, before we close out or whatever. But yeah, just let me know where else we gonna go with it. Not,
Well, I got another slide because I, you know, kind of learned from the jailbird. We're not gonna call no name, but to show my little points again, Israelite nationalists focus more on building independence in your Bible study, your religious study, in your home. Everything need to be independent of the system that we was just talking about, because the system likes to poison and kill fruit, whether alongside, separately, from any system, God's system only. That's how Israelite nationalists look at it. You may not know any Israelite nationalists outside of me, because most Israelites claim that they Hebrew Israelite, which is a very false narrative.
Mhm.
So Israelite nationalists say Israel people must control what affects Israel people. Israelites got to control what affects us spiritually, physically, all this stuff. Because we living in this world, and as he said, it's a corporate world. You have a corporate entity and stuff. You get called into court, all kind of stuff. So you got to deal with this world on a physical as well as a spiritual basis. So all those things control us, you know. I don't have no problem with no religious views. I just advocate my religious views. Then human rights, not just civil rights. Like I said, to be a human, you got to have a spiritual part too, because it say God created Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed into him the breath of life. And when he did that, man became a living soul, not a soul in you, this, that, or that. You became a living soul. That's something the world don't understand. So later in my life, because early in my life I didn't have these thoughts, Carl Albert expanded the Israelite nationalists into a global human rights struggle. Where I get that from? I got it from Malcolm X. Because Malcolm X was the first man that I ever heard to say, we are the children of Israel. We are the lost sheep. We this, we that, before I got to it today. But go ahead, I seen your finger pop.
No, I was just that was.
I'm very observant.
Okay, yeah. No,
So,
that's dope. Yeah, I'm listening.
so an Israelite American, because I am an American and I am an Israelite. So I'm an Israelite American. Anti-colonialism is my stance on life. I learned about colonialism movements in Africa, Asia, and Caribbeans and all of that. So Carl Albert formed Israelite nationalism as a political control of an Israelite community, economic independence, because as he say, I created a church. It's called the Israel of God, the mixed multitude, the church. And we ain't 501c3, but yet we still tax free. To move through the system better than the average person can. You got to be able to move through the system. You got to be independent of the system, though. That's why we ain't a 501c3. So cultural self-acknowledgement, we acknowledge ourselves as Israelites, spiritually more than physically. I just spoke to my physical brothers, and they like, what tribe you with? I said, I'm a nationalist. And I move as the nation moves. And I do the spiritual thing more than the physical, because I'd have been baptized. I went through the first steps of recovery. I repented from my old ways, so you can bring up what I did in California when I was young and stuff. I believe all that stuff has been forgiven me, and I walk in the newness of life now. So freedom from psychological and other systems that deal with the brain and lead you the wrong way. We must control our own destiny, politics, economics, and social issues we control. We gotta control. If we don't control them, they will control us. But that's a little bit. I still got a couple more slides to go through. There's some I just put on the table for us to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just you could just continue to run through the slides and whatever extra information. When you were saying you're anti-colonialist, which is obviously key to people claiming nationality in this system, that no matter what, you can't escape from it. Now, just still, again, important information as far as with colonialism and corporatism. Now, the shift was from the isms, from the colonials, right? The colonialists, or capitalism. Capitalism is each individual is a shilling of gold. Each person, that's capitalism. That was over in 1800s and introduced initially by the Moors, but the system became infected by these European parasites, by these parasites that came into the system, corrupted the system, but they still run the system that we created. So the nationality, etc., are institutions of each tribe. But what happens with the corporatists when they came in, they rearranged the borders. So if you was from this tribe or that tribe or this family, all of a sudden there was a new line. So most of these attacks initially were initiated in Manhattan. Like Manhattan was Gaza before Gaza. So Manhattan obviously would be unrecognizable today to somebody who was here, in the prior years, because what they did was they knocked down all. Manhattan was like the equivalent of a Garden of Eden. It was considered heaven. It was considered paradise. Manhattan, not the place where people go today and they be like, it stinks and all, you know what I'm saying? Like people say all type of weird things about Manhattan at this point, but Manhattan was actually one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And when the Europeans got there, they came across their name was always Manhattan. So that section was always Manhattan. And so when the Dutch and the British and et cetera and the English, when they got there, they was already functioning in they call it Lenape land and Lenape Kingdom was from like as far as up from Canada all the way down to like Florida, all the way to the Midwest. And it was just that was one nation. That was one nation. And what the Europeans mastered was divide and conquer. So each section, like first they figured it out because Manhattan was so consolidated with so many different families that some of the atrocities that they did, just so you can understand how they was able to break people out of a national internationalism, because really that's what it was. Like we knew who we were before anybody got here. So we was Florida, the Southwest. Each continent knew we existed and we interacted and traded with each other. And now there's like multiple shows, even if they don't mention our name, that show evidence of that, right? From about ancient America. So what the Europeans was able to do was they was able to create a test, this whole test idea. They was able to test these corporatist ideas. They had visualized how to piece apart the land from the people, the God from the people, the nationality from the people, from the indigenous people. Because if you actually want to get into it and you want to do any type of research, you can actually go to, are you familiar with the Boston Tea Party?
Yes.
Okay, so the Boston Tea Party, John Hancock, and that whole patriotic, quote unquote, patriotic movement. If you go look up John Hancock and you go look up the Boston Tea Party and you actually read what the Europeans wrote, instead of listening to what we was taught in school, I've recently, brought up the documents, right? And in the documents, this is how they describe the people, which is also key to our conversation. They describe the people as the most brilliant, noble people on the planet. These dark-skinned, brown-skinned, copper-colored people were considered the most civil and respectful and creative people on the planet. This is what their words were. So in order to create some type of uprising, right? They was like, what we're going to do is we're going to dress up like them, and we're going to start destroying the because the Europeans brought their problems over. The people from England came over here, brought their problems because the British bankers was chasing them. British bankers, they went from England to Britain, if you understand. So what happens is, in order to create some type of scandal that they can write about and create this whole domino effect to become what it is today, what they did, they dressed like us and they said, okay, we're going to say the indigenous people, the noble natives is what they call them. the noble natives. Now, is that a nationality? They just said, oh my God, these people are the most giving, caring, like they're strong, they're witty, they're everything that can be described. They're smart, they know how to navigate it. So every part of life that was considered the upper echelon of living was already here before they got here, right? So when they got here, and when they're writing about how they was trying to create an uprising, they're explaining in their paperwork that the uprisings wasn't working because everybody knew all the mobs, the gangs, and all the problems came from Europeans. This is a European that wrote that. He said everybody knows that we're the problem. He said everybody knows that. So nobody's going to believe that the indigenous, that the blacks are causing these problems. So when we dressed like them, we went on a boat and sailed it far enough where people couldn't really tell. They just knew it was black images. So they going into different places, covering up themselves. They go into this boat, they sail it out there. John Hancock didn't dress in blackface, but he was the point man. And it was another Samuel Adams was the other one. He also was a point man that didn't dress in blackface, but he was also a point man to try to tell the story. So what winds up happening is because of that, what winds up happening is they report it as F, and it's still in the history books as F. The noble natives agreed with Europe breaking away from Britain, whereas we was communicating back and forth and there was no real problem, right? So they created this fictional story and it became a war on our land, right? And then they used that war to genocide multiple tribes over and over and over and over again, and then wind up paying some of our guests, some of the Mongols, some of the different, nationalities that was coming over. Also, they start paying them because they, if they've been here long enough, they would know some of our secrets. So they start paying them to find us and, to turn this tribe against this tribe to a point where tribes were becoming so, were becoming so treasonous about what was happening. They start killing each other off. And then when it was down to about 2 or 3 tribes and more Europeans just kept coming over, next thing you know, they were surrounded, right? So, and the maker of the Great Seal, the designer, the redesigner, because all they did, they just taken all our information, they just remix it. So he's like, he wanted to tell the truth, whether it was about George Washington and just everything that was going on. He was like, yo, all the history is a lie. Everything that we learned is a lie. He wanted to explain. He was like, why don't you write a book? And he was like, I don't want to mess up the dream. Like, so we could have had the truth a long time ago. Now, between artificial intelligence and everything that's available, as far as the documents that are finally, being exposed on the internet, where we don't have to wait for an encyclopedia. So now these things and any changes that we may need to have that fluidness and that freedom in, in the system, whether you agree or disagree, whatever religion you are, the reality is that's one of the freedoms that people seek. They take that route because that's what it is. But I don't want to confuse that again with reality. Now, the reality is, no matter how, how important your bloodline may be, how you act is how you, is we take it as is, like at face value. So if you act like a piece of crap, then that's what it is. Like, no matter, you could have whatever title, like you see even in the European world, where Prince Andrews, winds up getting kicked out because he was tied to the Epstein thing. So this whole bloodline and this whole conversation, no matter what nationality he was trying to claim, it still get pulled into, a person's ego. And that person's ego is, what leaves the mark and alters that reality of how, people's perception of as far as titles. So again, I agree, that on a spiritual level and on on the concept of freeing us from so much oppression, we come up with different ideas. Like we come up with like, yo, let's do this, and could probably help us. I'm with it, and that's why I want to hear you out, and I want to hear the rest of your ideas.
Because a couple years ago, I was going with Black intelligentsia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at all the spiritual components in the Black community as Black intelligentsia. It was Black people against white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Black supremacy, basically. I never used the term, but that's how I seen it, because our spiritual systems against a spiritual system. Like people argue and fight today, was Jesus black? And I was like, if he the father of anything, which he is the father of, who's the mother and father of the world? Melanated people. You can't even get other people out of just European people. You're just gonna get European so-called white people.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
So, it's just it's common knowledge, which a lot of people don't have these days. It's not common. Ebonics. It's an ebony phonics. It's a way of speaking. It's a way of thinking, because your speech comes from your thoughts. Your tongue just reflects them. So, slang and ebonics is same thing. How we speak and talk. And then, as my friend like to say, it's dialects. You from New Orleans, you're gonna say, hey baby, and it's the way you're gonna speak. From Chicago, you're gonna use a lot of Joe this and that. New York, they got their slang. Atlanta, ebonics, ebony phonics and stuff. So it was a good conversation.
Yeah, I mean that even the language, whether it's ebonics or whatever the case is coded language to be able to say something in front of
The enemy.
Exactly. So in front of the enemy, the oppressor, whoever, like you want to be able to have, the freedom to express yourself and be understood by the people who need to be, who need to, you need to communicate with. So a lot of times it was people that we know, whether they was black, whether they was white, whether they was this, whether they was that. And in certain tribes, in certain sections of the world, it was different type of people. So that's why the slang is a little different. Like we got to say this over here because you know what I mean, what I'm saying when I'm from the bayou, but when I'm up top, the mountains and all of this, the language is a little different. But the whole point of it is so you can communicate in front of an enemy, in front of an oppressor. So it's not like we didn't share language. It's just that each section from the Ice Age, we got sectioned off. So everybody came up with different little, apart from the core language, everything just, got shattered from there. And now you can see, obviously, people are trying to figure out how to get on the same page, which the system takes advantage of people's, ignorance that they wind up putting us in, because, everybody's not on the same page. So they use language and put us under the spell, remove God from you, then sell it back to you.
Well, they used a lot of people like Niccolo Machiavelli and stuff. They wrote these books and everything, but one basic principle is a house divided can't stand. They knew that, so they divided the house. They won't stand if we divide.
Mm-hmm. And mostly use the on top of that, is the fact that the 7 sins have been around since before the Bible. You get what I'm saying? Like So meaning if you know the 7 sins and you know these 3 principal characteristics of the human man and woman, and you're able to use that as a thumbscrew to alter their emotions, alter their lives. Because if you know somebody is ego driven or somebody's selfish, like now society at this point is really selfish. They already programmed it, so so they know people are selfish. So they program the selfishness, and then they was able to double back and capitalize on that selfishness of the people by having all nationalities, different languages, slangs, etc., take an experimental poison that everybody's moving past. So I'll say leave that at that.
Yeah. We've been here an hour.
Okay.
So if y'all like it, that's my Cash App. A little something to say thanks or whatever. If you're watching live or you be watching later. If y'all enjoyed the conversation.
I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, it's all good. I'm gonna reach out for you. As you say.
Yeah.
It can't be reaching you. Hey man, I'll call out the blue.
Yeah, it worked. So yeah, definitely check me out. I'm using some of my coded language on my new platform, Reef Royale, RIEF Royale, RAWYAL. On the YouTubes, the Apples, the Spotify, because with these videos, as I'm reloading clips and I put some of these clips up, I want to be able to put music with it and keep it entertaining, etc. So I create the soundtracks for some of these conversations, and because sometimes you just need that beat, to get you through. And the new page is definitely about. It's definitely on its way because I already got 11 in. I already got 11 songs over there, and it's just it's not like I'm taking down any of the other stuff that I'm doing. I'm just building up a new IP. I'm in a crazy lawsuit right now, defending creative work and creative freedom, against the majors in a major way. You can check out all of that information on Rolling Stone, Complex Magazine, Hot 97, No Jumper. All of these different platforms are basically talking about what I'm going through right now, dealing with these people, and because they know I'm one of the free thinkers that's in the front, that's been the hidden hand of the culture. And how many times have I been right? So that's really what we should go off of. I'm not out of nowhere without a resume. I got a resume. A lot of these guys come out of nowhere, no resume, and they're put in front of you, and they wind up misleading the children, from all of these challenges, from all of these different platforms with the propaganda. They know how to mislead and alter people's emotions and the way they move. And because if you had adults pouring water on each other, so just imagine what they're doing to the children. And now with the AI and the technology, you can't really tell what's real. All you know is a story. And again, the major headline right now is all of these churches, colleges, etc., are all responsible for ushering people into an experiment, and then come to find out they're all in these files tied to some whole other so again, to help navigate through that nonsense, of this sick world or this sick situation, this sick system that because the system is pretty sick with the parasites. So, in order to help get through the show, I'm gonna make sure I continue to chop up, have conversations like this, share some great music, continue on with my art, and do my best in my part to stay as progressive and positive for my family, in order to reflect for your family out there, and hopefully we can keep everybody on the same page in a good way, universal harmony. That's what I say. Peace.
All right, y'all. That's the conversation. We spent the hour with y'all. Like I said, if you appreciate it, Israel Doctrine MVP. That's the cash app. Outside of that, don't forget to hit the notification bell that you may be notified the next time we do something. And we may be back with a similar conversation later. But I am reaching out to people. People just, I guess they know the old me. They don't know the new me. So they like, nah, I ain't messing with you. You'll curse me out. Which I had no problem doing that months back. But I didn't change. I'm a changed man. So
Redemption. What you think about redemption? Say, what's your words of redemption? I think everybody, but you see what you see with the Jesse Jackson thing. I know we closing it out. I'm just curious, like I know he was religious or whatever, and people, I know he got caught up in multiple levels of conspiracies from our elders who would say things about him. But I find it important to feel like redemption is real, no matter what religion, etc. I think redemption has to be considered after all the work is put in. Like a lot of work was put in to redeem some of our old spirits, of some of our old demons that we were programmed and acting out. So I think it's fair that the men and women that put in the work to clean up their karma can say that, I'm redeemed and this is what it is.
yeah, well, that's been most of my life. When I turned 19, people would say religion. I turned religious. So a good majority of my life, I was a demon. I don't live past that time frame. I'll be 50 next year. So 1950, 30 years I've been living this current life. Almost 10 of those cursing people out and doing stuff. My mother was attacked. People didn't realize how much I love my mother, and to see your mother die in your hands, in your face, that's something most people never lived through. I lived through that. And I was mentally messed up.
I'm not gonna lie, yo. I didn't even understand, the power of mom. You know what I mean? Like, so when it's not your mom, most people will be like, whatever. But if you have a real connection to your mother, or to a parent, and like you said, like that moment right there, I'm sure,
Because I don't talk about
your life.
the Harris and stuff, this and that, but them guys say, hey, hold up, y'all. Just playing with my mama. Go dig your own stuff, this and that. And then
You talk about homie?
yeah. So you gotta realize, cause see, I was there when Pac did to hit him up. That changed the culture forever. And they just changed the culture again with this whole beef thing. However it got started, why it got started, this, that, and the other. But see, like he said, he got a resume. I got a resume. I can tell you all that stuff was based off of what happened to me. They like recreating things. And a lot of stuff that I did has been recreated out here in these YouTube streets because they're my streets and people on my streets. I control my community. I'm Israelite nationalist. But a lot of people want my political position. A lot of Hebrew Israelites wanted it when I first was out here. They all attacked me. But I was never part of the Hebrew war machine, which is done by the government. Just go watch the cartoons. What was the war machine? Iron Man, the war machine. What he's a part of? You can't answer.
That's the part of the government, right?
He was part of the government.
Secret government at that, though.
So I see that this is how I relate to things. I watch cartoons and stuff, and I keep things in mind. One of my friends showed me that. She was like, the Holy Spirit is the good angel on the show. Because the demon is the one on, with the red.
The Holy Spirit is the
the good angel on the show.
what show?
Cartoons, right? Whatever show the angels.
Okay. See,
one of them demon, one of them holy angel, which is, I would say, it's the Holy Spirit. Because we was talking about it, and that's how she could relate it. And I was like, oh, you can see. Because that's the way I was trying to explain it. It's a holy angel. So with that said, y'all, hopefully y'all enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate you coming over, having a conversation with me. We didn't have no debate, people. It was a conversation.
Conversation, fair enough. Hey, listen, AI, I didn't say this in the beginning, but AI kills a lot of debates. Time has killed a lot of debates. Like time, from any thought, like we're old enough to have so many thoughts and actually be able to say whether those thoughts found reason. And that on top of AI and the internet, might as well just have a conversation.
Yes, I love conversation because ego never has to come into unless you coming into the conversation with ego.
Right.
So with that said, peace, y'all.
Peace.
We're gonna talk behind the scenes. All right, peace.